Middle Podcast, the podcast dedicated to the music, movies, and culture of Generation X.
What is up, slackers, and welcome to this very special episode of the Stuck in the Middle Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Eck, and I am recording right now outside live at the Daffodil Festival in Meriden, Connecticut, a place that I have not been in about 20 years. This is a very special episode because a friend of the show, Justin, is returning. However, we're also being joined by someone who came up on the podcast a couple of times, a gentleman by the name of Don Horton. He is the guru of guitar, the saint of shred. He is here joining us. Don, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, definitely. So what's really cool about this is not only that we all get together for the first time in one spot for
35 years,
is that they're also playing tonight with their band, Bad Dog. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but all of us were in bands together. So I guess the first question that I have is, because I don't remember, terrible memory, okay? So Justin told the story of how he met you, Don, and that he saw that you had a music book, and he's like, hey, I play, and then you had the different bands. So when did I meet you, Don, and how the heck did that all even happen?
I guess it must have been sometime in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Because, that's when we all met and started jamming in Justin's dad's studio in Meriden. And
the studio.
The rest is kind of history.
Yeah, that's right. So
we were in a talent show in 7th grade and then 8th grade. And
well, yeah, of course, you had that first band with Ricky Seppa, and then Ricky bowed out. And you know who I really wish could be here is Jay Gawlak, who is our keyboard player. So how did that even happen, though? Because you guys were already jamming with him. How did it even come up where I would sing with you guys? Do you recall it all?
Do you want to start?
You can take it.
Yeah, so we started, so Don and I met in 6th grade. We were playing baseball right around the same time, too. Hey, you play guitar? Hey, I play drums. We got together right after Christmas, 11, 12 years old. And then we got Brian Albano, and then we ended up playing, I remember Cocaine was one of the first songs we played. What else? Your Love.
The Outfield song.
Yeah, the Outfield song. There were a few songs that we just played over and over and over again. And then when it came time for the 7th grade talent show, Brian was going to play it with us. And if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Don, he didn't want to dedicate to two different things. He was in there for as a comedian. Remember? And he didn't want to do the music and the comedian, so the comedy act. So he ended up.
Did he kill as a comedian? I don't remember.
Probably. I mean, he was a funny guy. I mean, I don't. And then from there, Ricky. So no, I take that back. My parents had a sleepover, and my parents allowed this sleepover. I can't believe this. Do you remember that big sleepover where like 10 people slept over? And
we had a seance that night too.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Ouija board?
Yeah.
This was like 7th grade or something, and
not an actual seance, but I think a Ouija board was involved.
Right.
At some point,
nothing was conjured.
and Brian was there, and I remember Ricky was there too, and it was like Brian was bowing out at that time, and Ricky was like, "Hey, you just show me some notes and I'll play it." So that's how Ricky came on board, and then Ricky brought John Gianfrido on board. But again, it was kind of like, you could play a few notes, let's play it. And I think that was it for all of us. I mean, I don't think any of us, you were taking lessons, weekly. I mean, I was pretty much self-taught at that time.
And your dad kind of coached us too.
Right. Oh, yeah. That, without question.
He's our band coach.
Right.
Yeah, he's good at that.
But I think that's
cool. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, he had the studio and all the gear, and it was kind of like on the weekends I would go to Justin's house, and his dad would bring us down to the studio, and we'd spend hours there, and that was in 6th grade.
Like, if you're a kid who's interested in music, that place is like Wonderland. It's amazing. You don't get that exposure
for an 11-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just, and I think that's with me hanging out with Matt Morgan, and I think that's how you came in the picture. I think I might have introduced both of you guys.
Probably, yeah.
And from that moment on, I think, and then Ricky came in with us in the very beginning. I have that picture. I think I gave you a copy of it. Yeah. You've seen it. It's on the wall. of us with Jason Garlick, and then Ricky did whatever he did, and then it was just us 4.
So,
and then it was us 3. Oh my God! I just thought about that.
Yes.
Even after that,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
and we tried to do, and we did some. Do you have any of those?
I have
originals?
everything. I have everything.
We were a power trio.
That,
Yeah.
so that, that was when I was really into the Rob Zombie vocals and the whole
Yeah,
Phil
no, I got-
Anselmo.
Anthrax.
Yes. Okay, so what precipitated you even having an interest in guitar? Was there something that you heard and went, yes, I want to play guitar?
I would say Randy Rhoads.
Randy?
He was like the catalyst or Eddie Van Halen around that early 80s era. Just
Now, how were you getting exposed to music? Like, were your parents into music?
my
or
mom
just-
was
Yeah.
really into music. My dad, they both met, I think dancing.
Nice.
My mom instilled the love of music, and I think she wanted to play piano, and because she didn't, they instilled the guitar into me, and that kind of got me out of my shell in elementary and middle school, and I met Justin, and from there on, the guitar just kind of developed a love, and
That's awesome.
I kind of took it from there, and
Right on.
never had a reason to stop playing, and just met the right people along the way, and
So Randy Rhoads, that is just what year? What? It's like 30.
It's recent.
Like 83,
of his-
84 era.
He just passed away, like the.
Yeah, they
the
just had the anniversary.
of
I remember
his
my parents
death,
taking me to a concert at Habershon Field too, and just being. I love the fact that the sound of the guitar came through the speaker, like through the hands, out the cable. It was just like, I don't know, mesmerized. I was like a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then for my 10th birthday, I asked for guitar lessons, and that was
And they just said absolutely.
35 years ago. So,
So what was your first guitar? Was it that Squier?
a Sears Roebuck.
It was.
Yep, from the Sears, from the
the
mall.
catalog. That's awesome. But it did the trick.
Yeah,
Stayed in tune, kind of.
yeah, it looked cool and plugged in, and
That's
it was
awesome.
good enough to start lessons.
Not the
Right.
Westone. Was that the Westone?
That came after the
That
Sears.
came after.
Oh, so there was a couple in between before you got the Squier.
Yeah.
Just because I remember, the first time playing with you was like the
The white Squier.
Yeah, dude, that was amazing. It was like right on. That's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So Justin, I don't think I asked you when you were on. So, what was it that was like the moment for you? Who was it that you heard?
Without question, my dad. My dad and his band, and as early as I can remember, I'd go help him set up the equipment, and I always seemed to just migrate over to the drums and going over to the drums, and I think my dad didn't really care where I ended up, but you want to impress your parents. I think that's number one. And especially I saw how happy my dad was playing, so of course I filtered over to some instrument, whichever way, and drums just seemed to be my thing. I don't know, I used to go sit behind the drummer and it got to a point where the drummer would actually say to me, I couldn't have been more than 10 years old, because it was before us. Can you go set up my cymbals, or something menial, but something, huge to a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I can set up your ride cymbal. Okay. So I'm taking it out of the case and putting it on. It's a very tangible thing. It's a very visceral thing. You're holding this cymbal, and like as a 10-year-old, it's almost the size of you. And it's like, in that case, that was probably the start. But I'll tell you what, I was already a drummer. I know that I already had my set and everything. But when Mickey Curry, my dad was friends with Bryan Adams' drummer. And he was coming down to the infamous studio that we just talked about.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I'd only seen him in the Hall & Oates videos. And, he's in Bryan Adams now, but he was with Hall & Oates for H2O and for Private Eyes. At the end of Private Eyes. And then I think Out of Touch he was too. And when he walked in, he had a big bushy head. And, he had all these Yamaha drums. And he had the Live Aid stickers on the cases. So this had to be 1985, 86.
Yeah.
And when he came in there, and that was like, that did it for me. And one day, he forgot his snare drum, and so my dad had to come back home. He says, "Mickey needs to use your snare drum." Mickey needs to use my drum,
Nice.
and that just sealed the deal, I think.
And it come back tuned differently.
Mickey
You're like,
is
this sounds real good.
Mickey, no. In fact, Mickey. First of all, I just saw Mickey's manager. He's walking around here, so. If we're around, I'll introduce you to Mickey's manager. He's here right now.
Nice.
Second of all, Mickey is such a hard hitter, and I'm talking his his stroke is, starts back here, but he's got the perfect pocket. He's and Mickey Curry's one of the biggest session drummers of all time. But no, I remember it had like pit marks in the snare drum. I'm like, that's how you do it. You got to hit hard. That's the trick.
That's awesome. All right, so each of you think independently.
All right.
What is the first song you guys played together?
I know. I think I know. And it's not one of the ones we said already.
I thought it was the Outfield song.
You think that was first? Go back even earlier. I got a tape of us playing it even earlier.
Of course you do.
Not Cocaine.
No, it wasn't Cocaine.
Smoke on the Water?
No.
I was just going to say that.
We might be playing that tonight. Actually.
Was it a Night Ranger song?
Yeah.
What was it?
Night Ranger.
The song Night Ranger. Yeah.
I'm a closet Night Ranger fan.
Hey,
I remember that.
That is a good thing to be.
I remember that, yeah. Because I remember you were trying to show me with one finger. It's like, dun, 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 dun.
That's awesome. And of course you have this somewhere recorded.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Somewhere.
So you're both doing that early 80s. Yeah, some of it is hard rock, some of it is a little pop, the Glass Tiger and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when I come on board, hair bands are now fully the thing.
We went to see Whitesnake.
Went to see Whitesnake in
And Great White.
January of 1987.
That was a great
New
show.
Haven Coliseum. It
Vivian
was
Campbell.
Vivian Campbell.
And Adrian Vandenberg.
So had you been to concerts before? Because that was my first concert, Don.
With Justin's dad and my dad, they used to take us to Toad's Place.
Nice.
We saw Tower of Power, Yngwie.
You saw Yngwie at Toad's Place?
Yeah.
Is that what
They used
Joe
to take us
Turner?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's so awesome.
And his dad used to take me to some jazz fusion concerts. Larry Carlton.
Yellow Jackets. Yellow
He
Jackets.
introduced me to some fusion bands, Spyro Gyra, Chick Corea.
Yep.
Dude, that's awesome.
But that was the first major arena show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
had been
can't
to
really.
Whitesnake
I mean, I know it's apples and apples, but it's really more apples and oranges. I mean, going to a Whitesnake show where, especially us, we were 12 years old, and on the floor, oh my gosh, we're just, smack dab in the middle of this amazing arena.
And our parents dropped us off.
Right, and that's right.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, it was huge, right. Whereas, we went to the Schubert to see Ripping, or the Yellow Jackets, and everything's very prim and proper.
Yeah, this was different.
It was much different.
So had you already, through lessons, been exploring jazz, or were you, and it was like a new light bulb of how to play, or were you still really focused on rock, or was jazz opening you up?
By high school, I started listening to jazz players.
Yeah.
Yeah, like John Schofield.
So
Chick
even in these
Corea,
younger years, you were seeing it, but you hadn't necessarily embraced it yet, and then you got a little older and said, "Oh wow, this is amazing stuff."
Yeah, definitely by high school.
Yeah.
And more had been listening more to jazz and trying to transcribe solos and that kind of stuff. Players.
You transcribed solos?
Yeah. In college, as a music major, you had to transcribe, Miles Davis, and
how do you transcribe Miles Davis?
you listen to snippets at a time, and you just write it down, and you start injecting that into your own playing, and
that's amazing.
That's what it kind of is, kind of like a
because
a palette of different styles. Jazz,
it's like puking notes, and
rock.
it's like, how do you do that? Oh, that's very cool.
Well, you start seeing the phrasing
too.
You see phrasings that are almost they show up at different spots, and that kind of maybe it picks up on the upbeat, and then that's a Miles Davis lick that he used in So What, right? I mean, I would think you would pick up on the phrasings.
So there are guys like what was it? I guess it was they'd been around for a while, but I just only remember certain guys having hit records, and that wasn't always common, right? So Pat Metheny, Lee Ritenour, they were actually hitting the charts, and not just the jazz
George
charts.
Benson.
Yeah.
George Benson. Yeah.
See, there's a lot of interesting things that were happening in this time period for music, and it was more than just the rock stuff. But people were very no, they weren't, because you guys as musicians, I say you guys, I'm not a musician. I wouldn't have listened to jazz if you paid me at that time. Now I'll enjoy it, but at that point, if it wasn't rock, it was nothing else, and that's all that mattered. So, so we all get together.